The year is 1813. Europe is a continent in turmoil, a vast chessboard where empires rise and fall with the clash of armies and the will of their leaders. Napoleon Bonaparte, the once invincible emperor of the French, faces his twilight. His ambitions have led him to the precipice, where the fate of his empire hangs in the balance. The air is thick with the stench of gunpowder and the despair of a crumbling empire. The echoes of cannon fire and the cries of the wounded fill the air, a grim symphony of war. The very ground trembles under the weight of hundreds of thousands of men locked in a titanic struggle. Each soldier, a pawn in a grand game, fights for survival and glory. This is Leipzig, the Battle of Nations, where Napoleon's dreams of European domination will be drenched in the blood of his retreating army. The largest battle in Europe prior to World War I, it is a turning point in history. The stakes could not be higher. Napoleon's strategic genius is put to the ultimate test as he faces a coalition of forces determined to end his reign. Victory for Napoleon means a chance to salvage his crumbling empire, to hold back the tide of enemies closing in from all sides. His soldiers, loyal and battle-hardened, look to him for leadership and hope. Defeat. Defeat means the destruction of the French army, the collapse of Napoleon's reign, and a Europe remade in the image of his conquerors. The consequences are dire, not just for France, but for the entire continent. This is no mere battle. It is a clash of ideologies, a struggle for the very soul of Europe. Monarchies and republics, old orders and new visions, all collide in this epic confrontation. As the battle rages, the eyes of the world are upon Leipzig. The outcome will shape the future of Europe, influencing politics, borders, and the lives of millions. The setting sun of empire casts long shadows, and the dawn of a new era is on the horizon. The seeds of Napoleon's downfall were sown far to the east, amidst the frozen wastelands of Russia. His Grande Armée, the largest military force ever assembled, had marched into Russia seeking a swift and decisive victory. Instead, they found a cunning enemy, a brutal winter, and a land that seemed to swallow armies whole. The retreat from Russia was a catastrophe of epic proportions. Of the 600,000 men who crossed into Russia, barely 100,000 returned, their ranks shattered, their morale broken. The myth of Napoleon's invincibility lay shattered amidst the frozen corpses that littered the road back to France. Europe, sensing weakness, stirred. The disastrous Russian campaign breathed new life into Napoleon's enemies. Across Europe, old rivalries were reignited and new alliances forged. Great Britain, already at war with France, poured more money and resources into the fight. Austria and Prussia, once cowed by Napoleon's military might, saw a chance for revenge and joined the fray. Thus was born the Sixth Coalition, a formidable alliance united in its determination to break Napoleon's grip on Europe. From the frozen north to the sun-drenched south, armies mobilized, their ranks swollen by men eager to liberate their homelands from French domination. The stage was set for a showdown of unprecedented scale. The small German town of Leipzig became the focal point of this titanic struggle. From across Europe, armies converged on the town, transforming the surrounding plains into a vast armed camp. Over 600,000 men, a staggering number for the time, prepared to unleash unimaginable carnage upon one another. The air vibrated with the thunder of cannons. Muskets flashed, spewing forth their deadly projectiles. The ground was soon littered with the dead and dying, their cries of pain lost amidst the deafening roar of battle. Leipzig was a scene of unimaginable chaos and destruction, a testament to the brutal realities of 19th century warfare. Despite being outnumbered, Napoleon, the master tactician, was not without hope. His mind was a cauldron of strategic brilliance, always bubbling with new ideas and daring plans. He had faced overwhelming odds before and emerged victorious, and this time he was determined to do it again. He planned to use his central position and the speed of his army to defeat the coalition forces piecemeal. This strategy, known as the central position strategy, allowed him to strike at isolated enemy units before they could combine their strength. By moving quickly and decisively, he aimed to keep his enemies off balance and unable to mount a coordinated defense. His plan relied on swift maneuvers, decisive attacks, and a healthy dose of his legendary élan, the fighting spirit that had carried him to so many victories. The speed and agility of his forces were crucial, as they allowed him to exploit weaknesses in the enemy's lines and deliver crushing blows before the enemy could react. His cavalry in particular played a vital role in these rapid assaults, striking fear into the hearts of his adversaries. He would strike first at the Prussians and Russians to the south, hoping to cripple their forces before turning his attention to the Austrians and Swedes to the north. By targeting the southern forces initially, he aimed to create a domino effect, where the defeat of one enemy would lead to the collapse of others. This approach required precise timing and coordination, as any delay could give the coalition forces a chance to regroup and counterattack. If successful, he could shatter the coalition and buy himself time to rebuild his armies and continue the fight. Victory in this campaign would not only bolster the morale of his troops, but also send a powerful message to his enemies and allies alike. It would demonstrate that Napoleon was still a force to be reckoned with, capable of outmaneuvering and outthinking his opponents even in the face of overwhelming odds. The fate of his empire rested on the outcome of this daring gamble. Every decision, every movement, every battle would be critical in determining the future of France and its place in the world. Napoleon knew that the stakes were higher than ever, and he was prepared to risk everything to achieve his vision of glory and dominance. The battle raged for 3 days, a brutal back-and-forth struggle with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. But slowly, inexorably, the tide began to turn against Napoleon. His forces, depleted by years of constant warfare, were overstretched and exhausted. Crucial mistakes were made. A vital bridge over the Elster River, intended to secure a French retreat if necessary, was prematurely destroyed on Napoleon's orders. Whether due to confusion or panic, the destruction of the bridge would have disastrous consequences for the French army. With his forces encircled and enemy pressure mounting, Napoleon ordered a retreat. But the destruction of the Elster River Bridge turned the retreat into a rout. Thousands of French soldiers, trapped on the wrong side of the river, were cut down by the advancing coalition forces or drowned trying to swim to safety. The once proud Grande Armée, reduced to a panicked mob, streamed back towards France, leaving behind a trail of dead and wounded. The Battle of Nations was a disaster for Napoleon, a crushing defeat that shattered his aura of invincibility and left his empire teetering on the brink of collapse. The road from Leipzig led to Paris, and Napoleon, abandoned by many of his former allies, was forced to abdicate in 1814. The victors, eager to prevent further bloodshed, offered him a generous exile, the small island of Elba off the coast of Italy. He was allowed to retain the title of emperor, albeit in name only, and granted a small army of loyal followers. It was a humiliating end for a man who had once ruled most of Europe. But Napoleon was not finished yet. The embers of his ambition still smouldered, awaiting a chance to reignite. The Battle of Leipzig, also known as the Battle of Nations, was a watershed moment in European history. Fought from October 16th to 1813, it was the largest battle in Europe prior to World War I, involving over 600,000 soldiers from multiple nations. It marked the end of French domination over Europe and ushered in a new era of peace and stability. The defeat of Napoleon's forces by the coalition armies of Russia, Prussia, Austria and Sweden was a turning point that led to his eventual abdication and exile. The Congress of Vienna, convened in the aftermath of Napoleon's defeat, redrew the map of Europe, hoping to prevent future conflicts. Diplomats from across the continent gathered to negotiate new borders and establish a balance of power that would maintain peace. The legacy of Leipzig is complex and multifaceted. It was not just a military victory, but a significant political and social turning point. The battle's outcome influenced the rise of nationalism and liberalism, ideologies that would shape the future of Europe. It was a victory for those who sought to restore the old order, but it also unleashed new forces of nationalism and liberalism that would shape the course of European history for decades to come. The battle inspired a sense of unity and identity among various European nations, leading to movements for independence and democratic reforms. One thing is certain, the world after Leipzig was a very different place from the world before it. The battle's impact resonated far beyond the immediate political changes, influencing cultural and social developments. The legacy of Leipzig continues to be felt in the modern era, reminding us of the profound ways in which history shapes our present and future.